So to start with something controversial, I think that astrology has really gone downhill since the Middle Ages. Because it used to be a respected branch of science, and I think it's got quite vague and self-indulgent. A lot of horoscopes will be things like, take time to reconnect with yourself and spend time in nature. Whereas it used to be more like, Virgo, plant thy crops before the eclipse or thy family will starve. Or with Mercury in retrograde, it's a great time to get that infected leg amputated. I love medieval literature. I don't read so much modern literature. I tend to misunderstand a lot of fiction or take it too literally. I don't know if you've heard of Hemingway's 6-word short story, but the writer Hemingway was challenged to write the best story that he could in as few words as possible, and he came up with, for sale, baby shoes, never worn. Now, until recently, I didn't understand why that was sad. Big deal, the baby didn't like the shoes. I thought maybe it was about fast fashion. But recently a friend explained to me that the baby is actually supposed to be dead, and I just think that's not a detail I would have left out of my story. And my friend said, well, could you do better than Hemingway in 6 words or less? Easily. There is a dead baby. I'm quite anxious, I worry a lot, and something I've been worrying a lot about recently is how to respond when people show me pictures of their pets and or children. I feel like people are constantly coming up to me like, look, here's a picture of my cat. And I'm like, confirmed. Or recently a friend showed me a picture and she said, this is my dog, isn't he a good boy? Sure, this picture of your spaniel is cute, but it tells me nothing about his moral character. He might be a prick. He might bite people. He might think it's possible to be socially liberal and economically conservative. I think a lot of my anxiety comes from being raised Catholic. I think I internalized a lot of guilt. My mum definitely has this very Catholic understanding of ethics and morality, that the more enjoyable something is, the more inherently sinful it must be. For example, she would only let us cut our sandwiches into triangles for special occasions. And I did ask her about that recently, and she said, no, Caitriona, it's not because Catholics hate fun. That would be ridiculous. It's because I was always taught as an Irish Catholic that we cut our sandwiches into squares because English Protestants cut theirs into triangles. I'm not sure what the logic is there. Maybe so they have a sharp point to stab us in the back with. But I had no idea that I spent my childhood eating sectarian sandwiches. And I'm also never sure if that bit is punching up or down. It's a lot of history. I also think it made it harder for me to come out as queer. The fact that I grew up Catholic, I had a lot of guilt about that. But I did go to my first Pride recently, and they had a slogan at Pride, love is love. I guess the idea is that, everyone's basically the same regardless of their sexuality. And I think that's a nice idea, but I don't think that it's true. Because recently a girl told me that she was turned on by the cogency of my arguments. No man has ever said that to me. Actually, what happened is that I sent her a 3-part analysis explaining why the show Fleabag represents the death of feminism, because I think that too much of pop cultural feminism is about individual liberation rather than collectively dismantling the patriarchy for the benefit of the most oppressed. And it's better for the tension of the joke if you disagree at this point. And I'm also running out of time, so pipe down, please. And I also think that feminism can't just be about watching privileged women have fun sexual adventures. And she was so impressed with the persuasiveness of my points that she sent me nudes. But I also think that Catholic upbringing is why I relate to a lot of medieval literature. You know, a lot of it's very superstitious and very religious. I'm a big fan of medieval ghost stories, so I'm going to finish by reading you one. It's a 12th century ghost story by the Monk of Byland. Any fans in? Good, good. There usually isn't. A man heard a great sound of passing travellers along the highway. Some were riding on horses, sheep, and oxen, and some on other animals, and all of them were riding the creatures which provided their mortuaries when they died. At last he saw what looked like a baby, rolling along in a sort of shoe over the ground. And he questioned the child, "Who are you, and why are you rolling along thus?" It replied, "I am your son," twist, "born prematurely and buried without baptism." Hearing this, the traveller took off his shirt, put it on his son, and baptized him in the name of the Trinity. And he took with him that old shoe as a testimony to this incident. I've totally ruined the illusion of reading it there. Now, I do sense I've lost some of you with that, but I have a lot of respect for the Monk of Byland, because he's a man who understood that if you want to explain the origin of unworn baby shoes, you're going to need more than 6 words.